we are here, or at least I'm here. This is In Your House Sports NFL Recap Week number 8. So, Fat Sam and Manny D are off taking care of some other business. Manny D is, at the NFL front office, helping them field calls with today's trade deadline. And Fat Sam is down in Auburn trying to get an interview there. And who knows, might be the next head coach at Auburn, with Brian Harsin getting fired. So, happy day after Halloween. Dia de los Muertos. As you can tell, I'm hiding my face, much like my background here. But let me go ahead and take this off. So, was in the spirit, felt like doing it. Plus, it was oddly appropriate given how poorly my team has played over the past few weeks, especially this season. More so just this season. Get that off my head. Anyway, so NFL recap. We're just going to go through this relatively quickly. So, let's see. So we started last Thursday with the Ravens and the Buccaneers coming down to the deadline there. Looked like Bucs were dead. And then slowly, here comes Tom Brady. And the Ravens defense are slowly trying to give the game away. But in the end, the Ravens win 27-22. Tom Brady, 26 of 44, 325 yards, only one touchdown. Mike Evans had 123 yards receiving on 6 catches. But, Ravens find a way to win. They put an end to Tom Brady. And this sends them into, I believe this is a 3-4 game losing streak. Ultimately sending the Bucs down to 3-5. But Lamar Jackson making his case to, hey, F you, pay me. So see how that goes. Like I said, the Ravens defense really trying to give that one away, but didn't let them do it. Defense didn't give it away completely. So we'll see what the future holds for both these teams. Then starting off early Sunday morning in Mario, London, we had the Broncos taking on the Jaguars. Russell Wilson doing high knees up and down the plane, maybe on the way back, but definitely on the way up there. While everybody else was sleeping, Russell was working. Russ was cooking. Russ was doing high knees. A lot of Russ getting roasted, rightfully so. But he leads the Broncos to a victory, 21-17, another late game victory. Russell Wilson goes 18 of 30, 252 yards, 1 touchdown. Travis Etienne led the game in rushing with 24 carries, 156 yards, and 1 touchdown. Broncos improved to 3-5. Jaguars dropped to 2-6. Disappointing game. Putting the game on ESPN Plus. I mean, come on, man. But I get it. Nobody really wanted to watch that game. So you probably did us a favor by not making it available. So unless you had ESPN Plus, but even then, I'm pretty sure I would bet that the rating for that game was pretty low. I would assume so. Unless you're a hardcore Jaguars fan or a hardcore Broncos fan that just happen to have ESPN Plus, I'm sure those are really the only people that tuned in. So starting off the noon games, we had the Panthers and the Falcons taking on each other with potential first place implications in the NFC South, which it just seems like nobody wants to win that division this season. The Falcons defeat the Panthers 37-34 in overtime. The Panthers really beat the Panthers at this point. PJ Walker, 19 of 36, 317 yards, 1 touchdown. Deontay Foreman, 26 carries, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. DJ Moore, Six catches, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. That 1 touchdown being at the end of the game, a Hail Mary from P.J. Walker to tie the game, to score the 6 and tie the game. But he catches it, catches the beautiful pass in the end zone, over the shoulder, only to take his helmet off and get an unsportsmanlike penalty, setting them back another 15 yards, making about a 40-something yard extra point, and the kicker misses, sending this to overtime. PJ, like I said, DJ Moore takes his helmet off after he catches the ball, runs over towards the stands, helmet off, flags come flying, sending it to overtime, ultimately in which the Falcons win with a field goal. Just finding new ways to shoot themselves in the foot. You have a chance to get back into the division, have a chance to actually take some momentum, but that's just been the story of the Carolina Panthers season. Atlanta just slowly, kind of quietly trucking along. Then we had the Cowboys taking on the Bears. Dallas wins 49-29. Dak Prescott, 21-27, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard, the star of the game, 14 carries, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb had 77 yards on 5 catches with 1 touchdown. This Dallas offense, much as I hate to say it, they were rolling. They really were rolling this entire game. I think their first 3, maybe 4 drives, they scored points. It was the first 3 they scored touchdowns. Just boom, 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 right down the field, score touchdowns. They looked like they were going to be unstoppable all day, and they pretty much were. Dallas just ran all over Chicago. Chicago at the beginning of the week dealing Robert Quinn to the Eagles. So that, that already hurts that Bears defense, which was, already kind of starting to fall in terms of the rankings. But the Bears offense, carrying over from last week a little bit. Justin Fields had probably one of his better games as a professional, this week and last week. He only threw for 151 yards, but he threw for 2 touchdowns. But that Chicago run game, man, Khalil Herbert, 99 yards on 16 carries, 1 touchdown. Fields, added another 60. David Montgomery added another 53. But here's the thing. Chicago could have seized momentum, but it was a scoop and score by Micah Parsons that completely flipped the momentum of that game, because it looked like, here we go. Chicago's defense had stifled Dallas for, I think, 3 drives maybe. Had got a turnover towards the end of the drive or end of the half. And it just looked like, here we go. And then Justin Fields, gets out of the pocket, making people miss, keeping a play alive, tosses it over to Montgomery, who usually has pretty short hands, catches it. And you don't see this guy fumble. And fighting for extra yardage, fumbles the ball. And ball squirts loose. Micah Parsons dives on it, picks it up. And Justin Fields makes a business decision that he's just going to jump over the pile and not bother to touch Micah Parsons while he's on the ground. Parsons, aware that he was not touched, gets up, takes off sprinting towards the end zone, scores a touchdown, completely flipped the momentum of that game. And Dallas really never looked back. After that, they just continue to pile it on, run the football. So, yeah. Ugh, I hate seeing that. Hate saying that, but, Dallas is on a roll right now. The defense actually looked human. I think this is the most points that this team has given up this year. But they were able to score more. Up next, we have the Dolphins taking on the Lions. Dolphins coming from behind to put away the Detroit Lions, as you know, the Detroit Lions went in 27-17 at half, had a 10-point lead at halftime, and in typical Lions fashion this season, they blew that lead. You know, the Dolphins managing to put 14 points up in the third quarter to take the lead to 31-27. Tua Tagovailoa, 29 of 36, 382 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, man, freaking 12 catches, 188 yards. This dude just gets open. They get him the ball, you know, and you think that he got targeted a lot at Kansas City. You know, no, this dude seemingly is getting more passes thrown to him. It's like he's getting more yards. You know, he didn't have a touchdown this game. You know, Jalen Waddle got 2 touchdowns this game. You know, Jalen Waddle went over 100 yards. So that's, you know, that's a deadly combination. It's pick your poison, really, with this Miami receiving core. But having Tua there, I think really having Tua as quarterback with these two guys really has brought out this Dolphins offense. And in turn, is when he's been there, he being Tua, pronouns, pal, him being there has really brought the spark out in this team. You know, the defense seemingly makes plays when they need to. They play harder. This offense is just on a whole nother level with Tua in there. Now, I'm not saying Tua's on that level with, say, Patrick Mahomes or with, you know, Josh Allen. I'm not saying that. But they play different, you know, compared to when they're playing with Teddy Bridgewater or when they played with Skylar Thompson. No, he is getting the most out of this team. They seem to rally around Tua more so than they did in previous seasons. So, like I said, he's getting the most out of it, and it's, you know, Dolphins looking pretty good. All right, and then we had Arizona taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota winning 34-26. Kyler Murray just coming up a bit short. 31 of 44, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook led the game in rushing, 20 carries, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins making DeAndre Hopkins type catches, you know, one-handed catch in the end zone, you know, 12 catches, 159 yards, 1 touchdown, like I said. Beautiful one-handed catch there in the end zone. Minnesota just doing enough. Minnesota keeping themselves in front there in the NFC North, really putting some distance between themselves and the rest of the division. They continue to win. This team isn't the flashiest. This team isn't probably they may not even be the most talented, but they've got weapons on offense. You know, their offense is good. Kirk Cousins just continues to be Kirk Cousins. I don't know what else to say to it. You know, he just continues to just truck along, and he manages to come up with plays when he needs to. As long as they're not in prime time, he's fine. You know, he went 24-36, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's the important thing. There's no turnovers. So, and even rushed for a touchdown, god dang it. You know, Kirk Cousins outrushing, almost outrushing, you know, Kyler Murray. He had 22 yards rushing. Kyler Murray only had 36 yards rushing. But, yeah, you know, he scored that touchdown, and it's like, man, where is this guy whenever the lights are on the brightest, you know, in prime time? Where is this Kirk Cousins, you know? Normally can't find him. But like I said, Minnesota continues to improve. They're at 6-1 on the year. Arizona still very much alive in their division, you know, could potentially still try to get a wild card spot. You know, they're at 3-5. Man, Minnesota starting to prove me, or, you know, looking thus far, proving me right that they were going to win the division this year. So, Skol, baby, Skol. Up next, we have a complete and utter domination as the Saints shut out the Raiders 24-0. Andy Dalton, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, 18 carries, 62 yards, 1 touchdown. And Alvin Kamara added another 96 yards on 9 catches for 2 more touchdowns. So Alvin Kamara was pretty much the star of the game, along with the Saints defense. Devontae Adams, only 1 catch, 3 yards. Where is the Raiders team that trounced my Texans last week? Where was that team at, huh? That's what I want to know. Stupid Derek Carr. Played him in my fantasy team this week. Didn't even get me a full point. I think he got me, 0.5 points? Just the Raiders offense just looked absolutely horrible. I don't even know how to sum up how poorly they played. I'm sorry, not even a full point. It was not even a half of a point. It was 0.44 points. That's what Derek Carr put up for me. Because he only threw for over 101. He only threw for 101 yards. Was sacked 3 times. Threw an interception. Rushed for -1 yard. So he had about as awful of a game as you're going to have. So, yeah, there's not much more to say about that other than that Saints defense keeping them alive. In the division, they're staying within a game of the leaders, which is the Atlanta Falcons. Wow. And the Patriots taking on the Jets. Patriots win 22-17. Zach Wilson, 20 of 41, 355 yards, 2 touchdowns. Stevenson leading the Patriots in rushing and in the game, 16 carries, 71 yards. Grant Wilson leading in receiving, 6 catches for 115 yards. Yeah, this is a game the Jets needed to win, and the Patriots have their number. Belichick just owns the Jets, so this would have been a big game. Jets dropped to 5-3. Patriots go up to 4-4. Still sitting at the bottom of the division, the Patriots, but they're still within arm's reach. They're still there. This was a game that the Jets really needed to win to pretty much just put momentum behind them, keep pace, to stay ahead of Miami, and to, stay on Buffalo's heels, which, now you have a big game upcoming this week against the Bills. But now the pressure is really on the Jets to keep up. And boy, you'd much rather go into this game, 6-2 than 5-3, because at least you've got some room to give, if you do lose, which they inevitably did. So, NFC East, man, who would have thought? Who would have thought this division would have been as great as it is? As good as it is. I wouldn't say great, but as good as it's been. Moving on to the Battle of Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles remain undefeated, winning 35-13. Jalen Hurts, 19 of 28, 285 yards, 4 touchdowns. Miles Sanders adding 1 touchdown on the ground on 9 carries, 78 yards. 9 carries. The man only got 9 carries, led the game in rushing. What the hell? But the star of the game, A.J. Brown, 6 catches, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. Just mossing fools. Eagles just look incredible. Like I said, they added Robert Quinn at the beginning of the week, adding to that killer defense. Eagles just look like they are unstoppable at this point, and looks like that trend is going to continue to go going into this upcoming week, going into week 9. I don't want to talk about it, which unfortunately kind of have to. We have Titans at the Texans. Titans win 17-10. The score is not the score is not really telling of how bad this game really was. This game was not that close. The game was not a 17-10 game. I will say that. The Titans might as well have just been, out in front, way ahead of us. Even more points than there already was. The Titans felt like they were up 35-0. Davis Mills makes a late game drive. This is how sad it is. As bad as the Houston Texans played, Davis Mills led the game in passing, 17-29, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. Malik Willis got the start, and I think he only threw, 10 passes, I think? Maybe 10 passes? Yeah, he was 6 of 10 for 55 yards with 1 interception. But how do you overcome bad quarterback play or minimal to poor quarterback play? You just run the football. Derrick Henry, 32 carries, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dude. Houston, where are your linebackers? Where are the linebackers been the past few games? I mean, seriously. Can't get off the blocks. Defensive line is getting pushed around. I don't get it. In offense, they know what we're going to do. They know we're going to run the football with Dameon Pierce. He's the lone bright spot on that entire offense. And he was completely bottled up this game. Brandon Cooks had 4 catches for 73 yards. But, I mean, all that was pretty much in garbage time there towards the end. I had Houston had, maybe another 2 minutes, maybe we could have made it a game. But we really weren't in this game. This was a horrible game. Titans improved to 5-2. Houston falls to 5-1. Only good thing is, looks like we'll have 2 of the top 5 picks. That's the only bright spot in this. But at the same time, it's like, man, this is painful to watch. On to some other good news. The Commanders played the Colts, and they beat the Colts 17-16 in Sam Ehlinger's debut, his first start as a Colt, as the starter, as the Colts look to move to him for the remainder of the season over Matt Ryan. But he falls. He falls in his debut. Heineke leads the game in passing, 23 of 31, 279 yards, 1 touchdown. Jonathan Taylor led the game in rushing, 16 carries, 76 yards. Terry McLaurin, 6 catches, 113 yards. Maybe that's what they need. Get rid of Carson Wentz. Maybe that's all they need. And the Commanders might play well. So, who knows? Then we have the 49ers. San Francisco 49ers beat the Los Angeles Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions, 31-14. Jimmy G, 21-25, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns. The star of the game, Christian McCaffrey, this dude, led the game in rushing, 18 carries, 94 yards, 1 touchdown. McCaffrey also threw for a 34-yard touchdown, and he caught a touchdown. McCaffrey added, 8 catches, 55 yards. Like I said, got 1 touchdown. Dude was just unstoppable. This is what he needed to be in. He got out of Carolina, and he's starting to flourish. Kyle Shanahan just knows how to use his running backs and, get the ball in the hands of his playmakers. So no Deebo Samuel, no problem. Brandon Ayuk, 6 catches, 81 yards, 1 touchdown. So, hey man, 49ers starting to peak, man. They're starting to look pretty good. They're keeping pace in this division, which they're not in first, which we'll get to that here next, which is the Seahawks upset the Giants 27-13. Geno Smith, 23 of 34, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, and leading the Seahawks into first place in the NFC West. Who would have seen that coming? Except for the Seahawks fans. Man, the Giants just looked a little bit off all game. They were just a little bit off. that Seattle defense really kept them in check. There were no really big plays. You know, Saquon Barkley had 53 yards on 20 carries with 1 touchdown. Darius Slay, 66 yards, leads the game in receiving. Man, it's just shocker of a game right there. So crazy. Then in the nightcap of Sunday Night Football, you had the Bills taking on the Packers. The Bills beat the Packers 27-17 in a game that, like I said, the score really didn't accurately reflect how out of it the Packers were. You know, the Bills really dominated this game more so than the score really indicates. The Bills really just kind of gave the game away, to be honest with you. They got it a little bit closer. You know, Josh Allen, 13 of 25, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions as well. That is really because those two of those interceptions were driving near the goal line and him just trying to, okay, you know what? I'm going to force the ball here, and it didn't work out so well. Aaron Jones led the game in rushing with 143 yards on 20 carries. Stephon Diggs, 6 catches, 108 yards, 1 touchdown. You know, chirping the whole time with Jair Alexander, which really he just kind of turned into like the sole focus of the Bills receivers to get in his face and talk trash. So who knows what was said? Who knows what the beef there is with everybody? But it seemed like everybody hated Jair that game, at least in a Bills uniform. So Bills improved to 6-1. Packers fall to 3-5. Man, Aaron Rodgers on a huge skid, and really, if it's not for this run game, I don't think the Packers even stay as close as they did. So, you know, he has nobody to throw the ball to, but he has looked bad this season. You know, he has regressed. The fact that you have a 2-time MVP, back-to-back MVP, and he is playing as poorly as he is, you know, maybe he should have retired. Maybe, you know, he should have just not signed that contract and went elsewhere, you know. Who knows? And then the Monday night game, in a shocking turn of events, the Cleveland Browns upset the Cincinnati Bengals and destroy the Cincinnati Bengals 32-13. The Bengals did not score until the fourth quarter. Let that sink in. They did not score until the fourth quarter. Jacoby Brissett led the game in passing. He went 17-22, 278 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have a fumble. I think initially they might have ruled it an interception, but it was ruled a fumble ultimately. Let's see. Nick Chubb led the game in rushing, 23 carries, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mark Cooper leads in receiving, 5 catches, 131 yards with 1 touchdown. The Browns just dominate. This is a defensive game early. You know, wasn't until the second quarter that the Browns finally were able to do something. A lot of missed kicks in this game, especially early. The Browns missed a lot of kicks. Even Evan McPherson missed some pretty makeable field goals that he normally just doesn't miss. He missed. So, like I said, Bengals not getting any points until the fourth quarter. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much a blowout. This Cleveland just ran over Cincinnati, and they just, they made them look bad. Like, you can tell that offense really misses Jamar Chase. So, and it's a shame because, you know, this is a talented receiving corps, but you couldn't tell by this week's game. You know, Burrow was under pressure a lot. What are you going to do? So, anyway, moving on to next week's games. Got a slaughter. We've got a World Series matchup in the NFL as Philadelphia takes on Houston. Philadelphia Eagles this time taking on the Houston Texans on Thursday night football on Amazon Prime. Obviously, it's fly, Eagles fly. I mean, if we do this, this will be the one game that we get up for. We're wearing, you know, our battle red uniforms with the brand new red helmets. But I don't think it's going to make a difference. You know, Eagles, unless the Eagles just don't play any of their starters, I don't see us having much of a chance. The Eagles are just going to run the ball down our throats. We didn't have an answer for A.J. Brown majority of the time when he was in Tennessee. I don't think we're going to have an answer for him this week either. So, yeah, I'm picking the Eagles. Then moving on to the Sunday games, we've got the Chargers going out to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Man, that's a tough one to call. I'm going to take the Chargers on this one. Then you've got Miami going to Chicago to take on the Bears. I'm taking the Dolphins. Dolphins got too much momentum. Bears just still reeling from that loss. I think that will carry over. And then they've also just traded away, you know, more members of their defense. So the defense is continuing to take hits. Then you got Carolina rolling into Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Oh, man. Talk about teams coming off heartbreakers. One being at the gun, the other one being just completely dominated. I think the Bengals bounce back in this game. They're at home. I think they come out angry, so I'll take the Bengals in that one. Then you've got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Detroit Lions. Talk about teams that really need to win. Ooh, you know, Detroit has a pretty good offense, no defense to speak of, and the Packers are mightily struggling. I'm going to take Green Bay. This will just be the bounce back game. Aaron Rodgers generally plays pretty well against Detroit, so I'm not ready to say that Detroit's going to beat them just yet. So I'm going to take Green Bay. Then we've got Indianapolis heading over to New England to take on the Patriots. Colts versus the Patriots. This game just does not have the appeal that it normally does. You know, no more Peyton, no more Brady. Instead, you've got Sam Ehlinger taking on Mac Jones. And I think the Colts just fired their defensive coordinator this morning. So obviously they're not too pleased as to what's been going on there, especially with that defense who had a lot of promise and one of the better defenses in the National Football League to just get pretty much trounced this year. So rookie quarterback or second-year quarterback, you know, only making his second start. I'm going to take the Patriots. I'm going to go with the Patriots to win this game. And we've got the Buffalo Bills traveling to East Rutherford, New Jersey to take on the New York Jets. I think the Jets really needed this week to win. They needed so that way they could keep pace with the Dolphins. But I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they have. They're an up and coming team, but I don't think they have what it takes to match up with the Bills. So I'm gonna take the Bills. Then we've got the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Maryland to take on the Washington Commanders. I think it's going to be the Vikings taking home a win. And you got the Vegas Raiders going to Jacksonville, take on the Jaguars. Both teams coming off disappointing losses. Vegas being even more so disappointing. It's another tough game to pick because it's like, damn, both these teams are pretty bad. You know, I'm going to take the Raiders. I'll take the Raiders to bounce back in this game. Then you've got Seattle traveling to Arizona. Seahawks taking on the Cardinals. I'm going to take the division-leading Seahawks. I'm going to take them to beat the Cardinals. I expect this to be a pretty high-scoring game. I will say that. I think it's probably won't start out that way, but I think it'll. By the time the fourth quarter rolls around, you'll see it be like a 35 to 27 game or 24, 27 or 35-24, something like that. I think that's where you'll you'll see a lot of the scoring come up is around the fourth quarter. So, but yeah, Seahawks. I'll take the Seahawks to win. Then you've got the Los Angeles Rams traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs. Whew. It's about two teams in a tailspin, struggling teams, the Rams and the Buccaneers. You know what? I think the Rams still have a little bit better of a defense, so I'm going to take the Rams to win that game. Then Sunday Night Football, you've got the Tennessee Titans traveling to Arrowhead Stadium to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs. I think it's the Chiefs all day. Especially if Malik Willis has a game like he did, where he only threw 10 passes for like 55 yards. Now, I think Kansas City has a little bit better of a defense than Houston did, so I don't think Derrick Henry will run for 200-something yards against them. But I think if they can keep Derrick Henry to within, like under 125 yards, limit him to like 1-2 touchdowns, I think they'll be okay. Especially if they keep Willis contained and bottled up. I think if they take away the pass, if they load up the box, like I said, and only give away 100 yards to Derrick Henry, I think the Chiefs should win, especially with that offense, because Tennessee's defense really is not that good. So I expect the Titans. I expect the Chiefs to roll through that game and continue a stranglehold on the AFC West. Then Monday Night Football, you've got the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Nolens to take on the Saints. I'm gonna take the Ravens. I'm gonna take the Ravens to beat the Saints. You got 6 teams off this week: Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, the Giants, the Steelers, and San Francisco. All of them off this week, so that's why not as many games to pick from. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, In Your House Sports. Follow us also on Instagram at inyourhouse.sports. Be sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Do all that good stuff. For your boy Vasos, this has been In Your House Sports NFL recap for Week 8. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.